Well, good morning and welcome to Mars Hill Baptist Church here in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Today is August the 8th and we're having a very special service, a service that we were not planning on having, but a situation kind of dictated that we needed to do this service online. As you know, last week we had our youth come back from Fort Caswell from their week at camp. And unfortunately, we had some positive cases of COVID there. But because of that, we wanted to be extra careful today. And so we had canceled our regular morning worship service. So here we are. And I do hope that the Lord blesses you through this service, even though it is online. And we do look forward to regathering very soon, as we have opportunity to, and just to be in fellowship together again. I know I so enjoy being able to see faces when I'm preaching, to be able to see faces filling the sanctuary and everything. So we do look forward to that, but just to be on the safe side, to be tremendously cautious in the midst of everything that's going on in the world today. We're going to go ahead and we're doing this service online. So like I said, I do hope the Lord blesses you through this. He speaks to you through all of the sermon, through the children's sermon, as well as the special music. I would like to announce also, and I'll have this up both on Facebook and all, that we won't be doing any in-person Wednesday night meeting this week either. We're just going to play it real super safe, so we won't be doing any Wednesday night service this coming Wednesday. And Lord willing, we're going to be getting back on track and hitting the ground running with meeting again and ministering and worshiping our Lord and Savior together. I would ask that as we begin that we would pray specifically for those that have gotten sick, for those that are not well right now, but also for our community and for our area. With this Delta variant, with COVID still infecting so many and having so many cases going on right now, we do need to be on our knees in prayer, and we need to lift up this whole situation to our Lord and Savior, especially with children going back into school, with our teenagers going into sports and band camps as they prepare also to go back to school. We want everything to be safe. We want everyone to be healthy and well, and we do need to seek the Lord's face in all of these things. So if you will, bow with me as we begin our service with a word of prayer. Father God, Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity and just even the technology that we have to be able to have this service in this way and in this time. Thank you so much for the ability just to broadcast and to have these things out on Facebook and YouTube. And Lord, I thank you for each and every one that is watching right now, that as they do, you would speak to them. Lord, right now we want to lift up our nation, our world, our community, as we have all been affected by this COVID-19 virus. Lord, I pray that you would help those that are sick, that are getting through this time of being unwell, that you would bring healing and strength into their lives. And Father, for all of those that are out there, we pray for safety. We know that this virus is continuing to spread, and Lord, it breaks our heart to hear of infections increasing. But I pray now that you would put your hand of protection around all of us, that you would help us as only you can. Lord, we love you. We thank you. We pray now a blessing on this service. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. Well, at this time, we're going to have our children's sermon. I know I haven't been doing them as frequently within our worship service, but as we have this online, I do hope there are some children watching that can enjoy this children's sermon and learn a little bit this morning. I have got two things. You all know Bobo, and Of course, I've got a big old rock. I got this out back over close to the bus garage where there's a little fire ring that we have. And these two things can teach us a lot today within our lesson. Within our lesson this morning, we are going to be looking at one of my favorite passages of Scripture, Numbers chapter 20. And in Numbers chapter 20, God does a miracle. And he communicates to Moses, and he says, Moses, I know that all of the people do not have any water. And as they don't have any water, I know that's a very bad situation because you can't survive very long without water. So I'm going to bring water forth from a rock. Now, most likely it wasn't a rock this big. It was probably a huge, massive area that had just a huge structure. There was a huge boulder, something like that. And God probably brought forth water that way. But the only thing that he asked Moses to do was to go up to the rock and speak to it, to command the rock to bring forth its water. God was going to bring forth water from it. He was going to do the miracle. He was going to take care of everything else in that whole miracle. The only thing that Moses had to do was simply speak. Now, he did get into some trouble. We'll see that a little bit later. But I wanted you to realize and kind of come to grips with something. In your life and in my life, God tells us stuff like talk to the rock every day. He says things to us like go and be kind to that person. Go and forgive that person. Go and speak a kind word to that person. Invite that person to church. Go and do little things that we're called to be obedient to because God wants to do a great miracle. He wants us to do little bitty things that he can do great big things. Now, why do I have Bobo up here? Now, I know Bobo has not made an appearance in a good long while, so I had to bring him back out. Bobo, as you know, is the wooden idol that I made. Bobo is actually 10 years old now. That's pretty incredible. Or he's pretty close to being 10 years old. And he is, one of these things I made when I was preaching on the Ten Commandments. But Bobo's made out of wood. That's all he's made out of. That's all he is. But Bobo and you and I have a lot in common. Because we have the same potential to do a miracle. Bobo and me, we have the same potential to do a miracle, which is absolutely zero. You and I are never, ever, ever called to do a miracle in this life. We're never called to do any of the miracles Jesus did, to make water into wine, to walk on water. We're not called to raise the dead. We're not called to do any of those things. We're not even called to bring water out of a rock. Do you know the only thing we are called to do? We're simply called to trust and obey God in every little aspect of our life. And God uses that to bring forth amazing and wonderful things. He brings forth miracles as we walk through this life. Think about this. When Moses was called to talk to the rock, speak to the rock, Moses, and water will come forth. Did God need Moses for that? No. God could have said, you know what? I'm going to bring water out of nothing and just have water. He could have had a lake just appear. That's how powerful God is. God doesn't need us. He invites us to be part of his plan. He invites us to be part of the things that he is doing in this world. And it's through our obedience we're able to see the hand of God work miracles in our life. So my encouragement to you is each and every morning, children, youth, get up and say, Lord, today I want to be obedient to you. And don't ever discount the little bitty things that God asks you to do. To be kind, to be humble, to forgive, to give a person a word of encouragement, to follow God and to be morally upright and pure and speak the truth, to do all of those things that you look at and go, boy, these are just little bitty things. No, they're things that God uses to usher forth miracles. Parents, I'll encourage you, continue to tell your children this, talking about the obedience of God and how important it is and how it can usher forth miracles into this world, because that's the way God works. He works throughout the whole Bible that way. He asks a little bit of his people, just simply obey, simply follow, and amazing miracles follow afterwards. I hope that will stick with you every time you see a rock or every time you might think of Bobo. And I hope that will bless you throughout your days.
His strength is perfect, so perfect. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. But sometimes I wonder what He can do through me. No great success to show, no glory of my own, yet in my weakness He is there to let me know. His strength is perfect when our strength is gone. He'll carry us when we can't carry on. Raised in His power, the weak become strong. His strength is perfect. His strength is perfect. We can only know the power that He holds when we truly see how deep our weakness goes. His strength in us begins when ours comes to an end.
Well, if you have your Bibles, I'll encourage you to be turning to Numbers chapter 20. Numbers chapter 20, we're looking at verses 1 through 13. As I said before, this is one of my most favorite passages of Scripture in all of the Bible because I think there are so many lessons, there's so many sermons that can be drawn forth from this passage. And I believe that God has a very special lesson for us within its pages today. Numbers chapter 20, verses 1 through 13. I want to preach a message called Faith That Follows the Plan. Faith that follows the plan. We've been looking at this idea of faith, and we've had this definition that we've been going with for a good long while now. I'm going to say it. You can say it at home. I hope it's gotten into your mind. Is that faith is belief that changes your actions. Faith is belief that changes your actions. I hope you said that with me because it's one of those things that I want us to get ground into our lives because that's what faith is. And we're called to live by that faith, that belief in Christ, that belief of God's Word, that faith in God that He's telling us and directing us into the right pathways of our life. It's that faith that we're looking to, and that is what changes our life. And you know, that's the plan that God has for us, to simply follow Him each and every one of our days. Now here's the question. You ever had the plans that you had fall off the rails? You had a plan and you had a direction that you were going in your life, and it just flew off the rails. Something horrible happened. A hurricane happened. Somebody got sick. Car wreck. Something absolutely crazy happened, and you were like, "Oh, what in the world?" I remember years and years ago, Allison, Grace, and I were planning on going to the beach. We were going to leave right after we went and visited someone at Brookshire. In fact, I remember it was Wayne Tilley that we went and saw at Brookshire. It was right getting close to 5 o'clock. We went, we visited, we had a good time, and we left. The whole car was packed up. We had all of our luggage. We had everything all set and ready. We were getting out at the ideal, perfect time. And we went, and I remember we went to McDonald's in Hillsboro. We got our food, we got on the road, we got on Interstate 40, and here it is, we're heading towards the beach, and we are going at a good clip. Well, traffic is not terribly bad. We're going, and we're going, and we're going, and lo and behold, we get all the way to Apex. And a lot of y'all know exactly how far Apex is. It's not, we didn't smell salt spray or anything, but it was a good 45 minutes, an hour away from when we had left. And lo and behold, in my mind, I thought, oh no, I have forgotten the keys to the beach house. I had left them at my aunt's house all the way in Burlington. So here it was. We were going and doing great. We were having a great time. I was like, oh, we're going to get to the beach. It's still going to happen. We're going to have so much light. We're going to get down there. We can even go to the beach after we get there, walk around, have a great time, get our feet wet. And lo and behold, I was like, oh no. I got to turn all the way around. And after I turn all the way around, we have to go all the way back to Burlington. Get the keys, which were there. Get in the car, come back. And lo and behold, it was funny, we went back to the same McDonald's that we had gotten to use the restroom. And I was like, you know what? We're going to make the most of it. We're going to make the most of this situation. We're going to get ice cream. We're going to kick back. We might get there a little late, but we're going to go ahead and make it. The truth in life is this. Many times we can be following God and everything can be going great. We can be doing things correctly. We can be doing things right. And the plan just falls off the rails. We can have tragedy. We can have difficulty in circumstances. We can have all manner of things enter into our life. And we can go, God, what in the world happened? That's what the children of Israel faced here in Numbers chapter 20. In Numbers chapter 20, things were going as well as they could be. They had already messed up when sending the spies into the promised land, and the people rejecting the spies, or at least most of them, and God had said, all right, you're not going to go into the wilderness, but we're just going to keep kind of in this holding pattern here. And as we're in this holding pattern, we're going to get to this place where you're going to pass away and your children are going to inherit that spot. But they were still following God. They were still doing what God had called them to do. But lo and behold, there was a monkey wrench that got thrown in. Their plans went off the rail, as we see in the very beginning of Numbers chapter 20. Verses 1 and 2 says this, and the people of Israel, the whole congregation, came into the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, and they assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. I want us to notice three crises that were occurring. It was three really difficult things that Moses and Aaron and all of the children of Israel were dealing with at this moment. The first was the death of Miriam. The death of Miriam was the death of Moses' sister. And Miriam, if you look throughout Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, if you look throughout these books, Miriam was basically the first lady of all of the children of Israel. She was the one who saved Moses' life, who went and said, hey, you need some help taking care of that little child. Let me go get somebody, and went and got his mother. Miriam played an intricate role in all of the things that were going on. The Bible calls her a prophetess. She was one that worked behind the scenes, that was there, that was present, and the people absolutely loved her. But here it is, this pivotal person, this person that was leading, that was helping, that was supporting, that was encouraging. This person passed away and people were heartbroken. It was a crisis. Beyond that, there was frustration. We look beyond in verses 3, 4, and 5. The people gather together. They go to Moses and Aaron and say, listen, this is not the place that we were promised, even though they knew what they had done. They were frustrated by the fact that they weren't where they wanted to be. And beyond that, there was a crisis of no water. As there was a crisis of no water, we understand this, that most likely the people, they probably had some food. They obviously had livestock that they could kill for food, but you think about it, and the idea of the food and the water that we need each and every day, volumetrically, how big something is, the amount of food we really need is pretty small compared to the amount of water that we need. So here it was, a crisis. They're saying, listen, we're low, we're out, we don't have anything, we don't have any place to water our cattle, we don't have any place to get water for ourselves. We're in dire straits here. So the plan went off the rail. They were in crisis. What do we do? What do we do when we have that crisis time? What do we do when we have those trials? What do we do when we have those difficulties? Let me give you three actions this morning. Three actions found here in the Word of God that we can take by faith in times of trial and trouble. Three actions you and I can take. The first is this. First, run to God for the plan. Run to God for the plan. Look at verse 6. Then Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the entrance of the tent of meeting and fell on their faces. And the glory of the Lord appeared to them. Notice some things. When Moses and Aaron were dealing with some of the biggest and the most huge problems they had, they didn't run around like chickens with their heads cut off. They ran to God. The tent of meeting was Moses' tent. It was where he communed with God. Moses and Aaron basically did this. He said, all right, Everybody that's shouting, everybody that's yelling at us, okay, listen, we heard you. I'm going to go take a break. I got to get away from all of you, and I got to get into the presence of God. I've got to get away from all of the turmoil that's out there, and I've got to go to the one who has the answers. Friends, how often is it in our own life, when we have a crisis, when we have a trial, when we have a difficulty, we don't run to God? We get into the thick of all of those complaints, of all of those troubles. We start working around all of those things, and it doesn't help one bit. And all the time, God is saying, hey, come over here. Hey, you need a solution? Hey, come on over here. The reality is times of trials are a call to our faith. To say, you know what? Faith is belief that changes your actions. We believe that God can solve anything. We believe the pages of Scripture that says nothing is too difficult for our Heavenly Father. Therefore, the first thing we have to do is run to God for the plan. Let me give you two things that you should do. Number one, lay out all your problems at God's feet. Lay out all your problems at God's feet. When you have those trials, when you have those difficulties, whether it be within a crisis of relationships, with decisions that you've made that have been bad, with problems that have arisen at work, whatever it is, go before God. Shut the door of your bedroom and just get away from it all. It might be you just need to go take a prayer walk or something like that. But go and say, God, listen, I'm going to list them out. This is my problem. This is the difficulty I'm facing. This is the crisis. Here it is, God. I am going to lay it all at your feet. And that's what Moses and Aaron did. It said that they fell on their faces. This was a common practice in the Old Testament. And we even see it in the New Testament. Of people falling on their faces. It was an image of saying, I am 100% God, I'm surrendered. I'm at my weakest. I am completely and utterly at your disposal. Whatever you want to do, God, I'm laying everything before you. Let me ask, have you done that? Has there been a point in time where you have gone to the God of all of the universe and said, Lord, this is my problem. This is my struggle. This is my difficulty. This is what is making my heart race. This is what is keeping me up at night. And Lord, I'm giving 100% of it all to you, and I'm laying my face down before you. Lord, it's all yours. So we need to lay out all of our problems at God's feet. But notice also, we need to give God complete control of the solution. We have to give God control. Complete control of the solution. Notice, when Moses and Aaron were on their face before God, they weren't coming to God and saying, God, hey, here's the problem. Let me give you the solution. You just got to, go plug it in. Here it is. I got the solution. Just go ahead and, I've teed it up for you, God. Just go and hit it. They didn't do that. They didn't come before God and say, God, listen, here's the plan. I want you to follow it. They were there with ears open saying, God, what's the plan? By the way, the plan that God had wouldn't have been a man-made plan. A man-made plan would have been, okay, we need to go and we need to divert our path. We need to make a beeline for the next water source that we have. Or we need to go find whatever well it is. We need to go and find all of these things. But that wasn't the case. They laid out the problem and they said, God, what's the solution? What do we need to do? Friends, have you asked God that? Have you given God complete control of the solution? Saying, God, whatever it is, even if I don't like it, even if it's completely off the range, Lord, if your word says it, if you're telling me to go forth and do this as a solution, All right, God, I'm going to do it. If we want to know the plan, we've got to run to the one who has a plan. Run to God first for the plan in times of trial and trouble. Number 2, follow God's plan. Follow God's plan. Look at verse 7. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the staff and assemble the congregation, you and Aaron your brother, and tell the rock before their eyes to yield its water. So shall you bring water out of the rock and give drink to the congregation and their cattle. Now that's an interesting plan, isn't it? It's not a man-made plan, that's a God's-made plan. The plan was simple. Moses and Aaron were to go forth and gather all of the people together. Get them all together, say, hey, come, gather. We're going to have a little bit of a talk here. But I'm not going to talk to you, I'm going to talk to the rock. And God was going to miraculously, yet again, supply water for his children. I want you to notice something here. 3 quick things about God's plan. Because one of the things that you might have done, you might have gone to God and laid it out all at his feet. You might have given complete control to God for the solution, but you know the solution, you know what God is telling you, but you're going, wait a minute, time out, God. That doesn't sound right. Let me give you 3 quick things. Number 1, often God's plan is not unique. Often God's plan is not unique. If you go all the way back to the book of Exodus, you're going to see a point in time where the children of Israel are still on the same journey. They're just starting it, and they don't have any water. And what does God do? He talks to Moses and says, listen, the plan is water's coming out of the rock. I don't want you to talk to it. I want you to take the rod of God. I want you to smack it, and I want the water to come forth. God did this exact same thing, minus the hitting of the stone, all the way back in Exodus. Many times within our life, we're going to face problems and difficulties and trials. And the plan of God is going to sound oddly familiar to what he told you last year, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago when you faced something very similar. You're dealing with the idea of a relationship in your life that is just on the rocks. And God is saying, you know what? 5 years ago, you faced something really similar. And you know what you did? You treated that person with love. You forgave that person. You talked to that person. You tried to reestablish connection with them. And that's what I want you to do. And you're going, wait a minute, God, hold on. That sounds awfully familiar. I did that last time. And God is like, you know what? I worked a miracle last time. So often within our life, we want God to say, all right, listen. You want a solution to this? All right, I'm going to give you the solution. I have created this magic fruit on top of a mountain. What I want you to do, I know it'll be difficult for you, but go and climb this mountain for this magical fruit and eat of it, and everything will be solved. I will miraculously do all of these things. God doesn't work like that. God over and over and over again does miracles when we simply follow and obey him. And many times, the plans that he has sound awful familiar to what we have done last week, last month, last year, last decade. We think of the commands we have within the New Testament of being kind, of being gentle, of being loving, of sharing the gospel, of praying for others, of helping those that are in need, and how God miraculously uses those things to heal lives, to bring forth new life, to do amazing miracles. Often, God's plan is not unique. So notice also this, usually God's plan only has a small role for you. Usually God's plan only has a small role for you. Think about it. Moses, he got the 10 Commandments. He got to see God. He saw the burning bush. He has led the people out of Egypt. He got to confront Pharaoh. Moses is an important guy. And what does God want to do? He's like, I'm going to do a big old miracle. All right, let me give you the roles here. You say a couple of words to the rocks. I'm going to do the rest. You realize each and every person in Israel was qualified to talk to a rock. You and I are qualified to talk to a rock. The role that Moses was going to play was teeny tiny. God was the one that was going to do the miracle. God was the one who was going to bring all of these amazing things about. That is one of the most amazing things for us to realize. God never really calls us to do tremendously amazing, miraculous things. He never calls us to do that because we can't do that. Do you know what He usually calls us to do? Just little stuff. To spend time in prayer. To spend time sitting with someone at a table, being nice to them. To go in and be helpful in times of need. To go in and do those simple little acts of kindness, and God is going to work a miracle through that. For all of my young people that are going in to middle school and high school, all the elementary school people, listen, the little acts of kindness that you can do at the lunch table, the little acts of kindness you can do in your classroom to that one child, that one student that nobody likes, that just sits alone, that's super quiet, that everybody just doesn't want to be around, those acts of kindness God can use to do a miracle. Those of you that work in an office, it's those little acts of kindness that make all of the difference in the world. That you get to show a glimpse of Jesus Christ to another person. Listen, that can change a life. Often God's plan is not unique. Usually God's plan only has a small role for you. Listen, always God is in the business of bringing glory to Himself. God is always in the business of bringing glory to Himself. You think about it. Moses talks to the rock. That was the plan. And water bursts forth. Who gets the glory? It's not Moses, but God Himself. Why? Because God is not in the business of bringing glory and honor to you and me. He's bringing glory to Himself. He's bringing glory and honor to Himself through His mighty works. You know, a lot of times, one of the things that holds us back from following after God's plan is we are decreased and God is increased. God, I don't want to do that. That's not going to make me look good. That's going to make you look good. And God's like, yeah, that's the whole point. You must decrease, I will increase. A lot of times we have that pride within us. We have that, oh man, I want to be the one on stage. I want to be the one getting the gold medal. I want to be the one everybody's cheering for. And God's like, no, sorry, that's not in my plan. My plan is to bring me glory and honor. And that means you might have to be on the wayside. You might need to be sitting in the pew. You might need to be out in the parking lot. You might need to be out at home. You might need to be completely forgotten that I might be glorified. Friends, let me ask, what is keeping you from following God's plan? Is it that you don't want to give up any of the glory? Maybe it's time to readjust and say, you know what, I got to remember something. I was not made for my glory. I was made for the glory of God. Run to God for the plan. Follow God's plan. Finally, this. Beware the enemy of God's plan. Beware the enemy of God's plan. Verse 9. And Moses took the staff from before the Lord, and he commanded him, as he commanded him. Then Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock and said to them, Hear now, you rebels. Shall we bring water for you out of the rock? And Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock with his staff twice, and water came out abundantly. And the congregation drank and their livestock. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Because you did not believe in me to uphold me as holy in the eyes of the people of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land that I have given you. Think about that. Here it was Everything started off real good. Verse 9, Moses got the staff. All right, God, I got the staff. Let's go out. I've always had this thing. He gathered everybody together. Things are on track, but what does he do? Everything falls off the rails there. And rather than speaking, he hit the rock. And because of it, God said, listen, nope, you're not going into the promised land. You've lost that chance. Listen, there are enemies of God's plan. Let me give them to you real quick. There's just 4. Number 1, anger. Anger. Notice what was said. Listen, you rebels. Do we have to bring water from this rock again? Friends, listen, I will guarantee you this. The situations that we are going through right now, 2020, 2021, it is going to bring anger into our lives. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? But listen, that anger can get us away from God's plan for our life, and it can make us go and do horrible things. Beware anger in your life. I read a great quote one time that anger is 1 letter away from danger, and it's so true. But you know, the other thing is forgetfulness. It's forgetfulness. You know, you think about it, Moses just got word. And he had the staff. And rather than speaking, he struck it. He forgot what God himself had told him to do. He forgot the fact that God had given him clear, simple instructions. You know, forgetfulness is one of the greatest enemies in the Christian life. Forgetfulness is one of those things that can get us into so much trouble. We think about it. We're in a rough spot. We're in a trial. We're in a tribulation. And we don't want to go to God in prayer. We fight against it. We don't want to do anything like that. What have we done? We forgot 5 years ago when we prayed diligently. And God miraculously moved. We forget 2 years ago when we were praying and God brought forth an answer. We forget all of those times that God moved. And what does it do? It keeps us from following God's plan. You know, another thing that is an enemy is frustration. The people of God here were frustrated. Moses and Aaron were frustrated with the people of God. And what did it do? It caused them to disobey what God had said. Frustration in these times in which we are living is real. I have been frustrated. My wife, my daughter, everybody that I meet, we're all frustrated. But you know what? Let us not let that keep us from doing what God has called us to do. Finally, this, pride. Pride. We think about it. Moses had a little bit of pride in him. He said, do I have to bring? Well, he said we. But we get the idea. He was the guy with the power. Do I have to bring water out of this rock because you have just been such rebellious individuals? A lot of times we think more highly of ourselves than we ought. In times of trouble, in times of tribulation, let us remember to be humble in the sight of Almighty God. And say, Lord, I don't know exactly why this is going on, but this is a situation that you want to use to bring glory and honor to yourself. How can I be humble? How can I be gentle? How can I be obedient to be able to follow after you, to bring you glory and honor? Friends, how are you doing with God's plan? Are you following? Are you letting your life be guided and directed, or has it gone off the rails? I'll encourage you today, as we get ready to close in prayer, to simply commit your heart and your life back to God and saying, Lord, I know I haven't been following your plan. It might be within your life at home. It could be within your work. It could be at school. It could be in your heart. It could be in your mind. It could be any of those things that you're saying, God, you listen, I haven't been following your plan at all. But Lord, right now, to the very best of my ability, I'm going to let you take control. I'm laying it all at your feet. Whatever you say, Lord, that's what I'm going to do. It could be today that you're watching and you're saying, you know what, I haven't been following God's plan with anything in my life ever. Can I invite you to take the very first step? And that is placing your faith and your trust in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Jesus Christ, the very Son of God, came into this world and He lived a perfect life. And what He did for us is the greatest gift that has ever been given. All of our guilt, all of the wrongdoing that we have done, every rule that we have broken, every bad thing that we have ever done, He took the punishment for. Every wrong thing that we did, God was going to give punishment for. But Jesus, in His love, said, no, I'm going to take it. And He died on the cross, taking that punishment. He was killed. He was placed in a tomb. And because of the great power of God, rose again on the third day. And as He rose again on the third day, He offers a chance for you and I to have forgiveness. That if we would simply place our faith, our trust, our belief in Him, that He is who He says He is, He would forgive us. He would adopt us into His family and give us new life. Friends, today, would you come to Christ and give your heart and your life to Him? Let's bow in a word of prayer. Father God, thank you for your word. Thank you for the lessons within it. And Lord, thank you for the guidance and the direction you give us each and every day. Help us as we follow your plan. Lord, for anyone here that doesn't know you as Savior, I pray that today would be the day they would place your hope and their trust in you, that you would radically change their life. For all those there that are repenting, that are coming back to you, Lord, I pray that you would let your presence be known in their life, that you would guide and direct as only you can. Father, Lord, guide, direct us, protect us in this time. For it's in Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I do hope the Lord blesses you. And as always, church, I love you, I miss you, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Until that time, may God richly bless you.